So Gary is the managing partner for Executive Search Partners, which has been named by Forbes magazine as one of the top search headhunting agencies, as it were, in the United States. So let's talk a little bit about, let's start off with, before we get into our question on the overall IT job market, why don't you explain a little bit about what you guys do at Executive Search Partners?
We've been in business for 19 years and we focus on senior level information technology jobs. Although recently with some of our customers, we've gotten into other positions like finance positions and HR positions. We have customers in North America. We've done some searches overseas, but if you want to think about us as where do we shine, it's finding senior level IT people for positions for companies in the United States.
So let's then wade into this topic. What's going on in the IT job market now? I mean, it's hard to keep up with everything, but I think IT people that are really skilled are still pretty difficult to find, right?
You know, it's people, there's this general concept or idea out there that IT people are hard to find. And your previous guests pointed out, as did you, that well, it really depends on the attitude of the company and what they're willing to do. IT salaries have gone up. People want to work more remotely. People can work from overseas. So if the company only wants to find somebody that's, within 20 miles of the company location to work full-time on site, that makes it harder to find people. If you're willing to consider people from anywhere in the world, far less difficult to find quality IT people. A little harder to manage because of the remoteness of the situation, but IT, there's still a lot of people out there that have good IT skills that you can hire if you're willing to sort of reduce the constraints that you have. The other constraint that I forgot to mention is salary. Salary requirements have gone up. And some companies, I won't say the name of a company, but they're looking to pay a manager right now of IT in Southeast Michigan to work on site, $110,000 to $120,000. And I've advised them that, you're really, the salaries have gone up. That was too low for even before the pandemic. You really have to, if you really want a good person, if you want somebody in the marketplace that you want to hire, you're going to have to pay, $140,000 to $150,000 plus bonus. So the company attitude towards how they want to hire people, how they want to employ them, how they want to support them does affect the nature of the job market that they're looking at.
Well, getting back to, I get flooded with studies constantly. I must get at least a couple every day. I mean, I look through them real quickly, but the idea is a lot of people, now that they've gotten the taste of remote work, like a certain guy I know who has a house in Colorado and another in Florida. I won't name that guy, but there is a picture of Colorado behind you. I mean, that seems to be what, particularly the younger ones, maybe not the older ones, but the younger ones just figure they can do it remotely, right? And so is that pose a challenge?
Yes. More people got used to, during the pandemic, working remotely, and companies got used to supporting them doing that. And yet we're finding there's sort of a snapback coming, strategy. Oh yeah, we support hybrid. We support work from home. Well, what does that mean? Well, we want them in the office 3 days a week. That's not really work from home. That's clearly not working remotely. You can't be off in the mountains of Colorado doing your job like I am right now, right? And come into the office 3 days a week if you happen to be in Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. That commute's a pretty long one. So, and I just read that Elon Musk put out a missive to his staff saying either come back to work or quit. That might be a little bit too severe, I think, right?
Yeah, I still think there was a very good article by McKinsey that I posted on my LinkedIn site, Executive Search Partners, about the whole work from home and what companies are doing. And it's really a very interesting, thought-provoking study. There is some real benefit for people meeting in person and talking to each other, right? Hiring somebody remotely that maybe is in California and you happen to be in Detroit and you never meet each other, maybe not as easy to develop relationships. Sometimes that informal communication, that water cooler talk, as they talk about, the going out to dinner with somebody, that stuff is good stuff. it helps create a work environment that I think is positive. But it doesn't mean that somebody's got to be in the office 3 to 4 days a week. I don't think. I really think remote teams with occasional get-togethers is probably where companies can be very effective.
Yeah, I'm hearing about that locally. I can't speak to what's happening around the country, but the idea that come into the office 1 day a week, we'll all sit around a table, brainstorm, maybe go out and have lunch together, do the bonding kind of thing. Because I worked in a newsroom, and with those little half partitions and all that, and I was just for a long time. And then for a long time now, I've been working remotely. I mean, I've been working remotely since the year 2000. So kind of a little ahead of the rest of the folks out there. And I can see the benefit of both sides of it. I mean, I like the idea that you don't have to drive to an office, but at the same time, particularly during the pandemic, because I was used to before the pandemic, go to a lot of meetings, go to lunches, networking, and that all dried up. And then I felt like a hermit or something. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out moving forward. I don't know whether this is a perfect solution, but I do know that the virtual workforce is here to stay in some form.
And think about, I think sometimes it's the nature of the job. It's the nature of who you have to interact with. It's how good the company is with their work from home, work remote tools. There are some companies that have better capabilities than others, some who know how to operate in that particular environment. If you don't have those skills, maybe that's why you want the people back in the office. Don't know. But I think the companies that have been very successful with the work from home process are hanging on to that because they find that it's really effective for everybody. And let me just give an observation about one company locally, that the Plant Moran, which I'm sure you've heard of, a consulting and accounting company. Mm-hmm. They've got a very, very interesting policy, which basically says work from where you need to work from to get your job done. And let the individuals make that decision. So if they want to go into the Southfield office or the Kalamazoo office, or they want to go to the customer site, or they want to work from home, that's the employee's choice. I think, and they've been, 21 years in a row listed by Fortune magazine as one of the top places to work in the United States. I really like that model, and would suggest if anybody's interested, that might be a good one to pursue.
Kind of reminds me of Mary Barra when she came in at GM. GM used to be a real button-down blue suit, white shirt, blue tie kind of group, and she said to him, what's appropriate, and sort of a variation thereof, but the metaphor may have been stretched a bit. So let's talk about some jobs that you got floating around out there. I mean, what are some really hot jobs right now we can talk about without going into too much particulars about the job itself, or the employer for that matter?
Well, this has been maybe our best year ever.
Wow.
And I think I've been in business 18 years. And why is that? And I think it's because, first off, I think the pandemic, it helped educate people as how important IT people are for the company. I think people are saying, let's invest in IT, so we need more people to help get that done. Right? We see companies that are expanding. So we've got a CIO position for a small company in Southern Illinois that requires a manufacturing background. We've got a director of e-commerce position down in Springfield, Missouri, for a distributor of recreational vehicle components and other products. We've got we just completed a search for a controller which is not in IT, but something we do for a $3 billion global manufacturing company. We're looking for a principal consultant with manufacturing background experience for a client in Southeast Michigan. Trying to think, we got like 30 searches underway right now. Very unusual for us to be this busy.
So one of the things you also told me in previous sessions that we've done is you get a lot of resumes, but qualified people, not so much, right? For some of these jobs, or maybe the resume is just not very good.
Yes.
Both, right?
Yeah. No, one of the things that I think I mentioned in a previous one of these is, what is Executive Search Partners' number one recommendation for somebody who's looking for a job, right? And that is, number one recommendation is apply for only those jobs for which you're qualified, and send a resume that shows why you're qualified for that position. In other words, customize the resume for a particular position. And at the top of the resume, we're suggesting, and this is we call it the in-resume cover letter, list 4 or 5 dot points of why you're a good candidate for the position that you're applying for. Now, one other thing, and I tell people that advice, and they say, well, that means I can't apply for jobs I'm not qualified for.
Right.
Wait a second.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I know I can do the job. Okay, well, great. It is. But if you're out there competing with all these other people in the world who have access to that same job posting online, and you're the hiring manager, and you get a choice between somebody who's qualified and somebody who's not qualified, which one do you take? So help the person who's reading your resume see why you're qualified. The other, I think, misnomer out there is a lot of people say, well, I got to have a bunch of keywords at the top of my resume because machines will call me out if I don't have those keywords. And at the senior level, and I even call manager on up senior level, at the senior level, you got a person reading that resume. I don't know how many companies rely on the artificial intelligence, the not very smart artificial intelligence of their applicant tracking systems. So my number one advice is customize your resume for the position, and at the top of the resume, put 4 or 5 dot points of why you're qualified for the position that you're applying for.
And you have at your website, executivesearchpartners.com, or no, it's execsearchpartners.com, right? Did I get that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You've got tips there on resume writing and how to go for jobs and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah. Thank you for remembering that. We have the document that I created for myself many years ago. I got advice from people on how to go find another job, and I started writing this stuff down because I'm an engineer and know that I won't remember everything that's out there. And I started codifying that into steps that you could take. And I created a document called 12 Steps for a Highly Successful Job Search. And we keep refining that and adding to it. That document is out there. We've also got a sample resume out there with these, we call that top of the resume qualifications for a position that you're applying for. We call that the in-resume cover letter. People don't read cover letters. I think they're a waste of time, but include that information about why you're a good fit in the resume itself.
Okay.
And all that information is out on our website.
execsearchpartners.com. We still have a few more minutes. We're waiting for Matt to come in to interview our next guest. So you were saying this is one of your best years ever. Is it just across the board, or are there particular types of jobs that folks are looking for, or what?
It's across the board. And one thing that maybe I skipped over earlier that I think would help a little is what is the market like for IT people in general, for companies who are looking? I went right into, well, it depends where you're looking and what your flexibility is and hiring people remotely or what kind of salaries you're going to pay. But in general, it's easier to find manager on up candidates than it is to find individual contributors, right? But and partially, I think that's due to, a lot of people did the Great Resignation and decided that I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go try and find a way to work remotely.
Mm-hmm.
My anecdotal input that we've had from people, as well as the reading I've seen, is the Great Resignation is somewhat over. A lot of people tried it for a while, and now they've had to switch jobs. They've had to shift focus, and they're saying, well, maybe I left my job too soon. So I'm not seeing the Great Resignation as being a significant impact, as much as I'm seeing the need for people to be able to have the flexibility to work from where they want to work from when they need to work from that particular location.
Yeah.
And if employers can offer that flexibility, I think they'll have a better chance of getting the people they're looking for.
It's probably not a big consideration at the level of folks that you hire, but having a good healthcare package now is really important for a lot of the lower level folks, right?
I think it's important for everybody. And I think if the companies are not competitive on the benefit side, They lose people because people look at the salary, they look at the bonus, they look at the cost of benefits. They add it up. They've got two job offers. They think of them both equal. The one where it's costing a lot more for benefits, which one do you think you're going to take?
Yeah, good point.
And I think if you really dumb down on the benefits for people, I think that says something about the company and their culture in another way too. I don't my personal opinion, I don't value employees as much as I can. I'm looking for every way I can cut costs. I'm going to take it out of my employee benefits by making them pay more for them. I think there's a lot that can be said for really good benefits and treating your employees the way a lot of other companies are.
Yeah, it's kind of a seller's market, isn't it?
It's a seller's market, but it's also, I think, the right thing to do. People are important to a business. You're not going to automate your way out of whatever you're doing. You need to have, if you want a really good, thriving business, you need really good people, and you need to support the people that way. And you need to pay them. You need to give them benefits. You need work flexibility. You need to have good training programs. You need to have good bosses who know how to interact with them. You need to have good ways for teams to work together. Got to be a place where people like to work.
Okay.
And once you get that, it's hard to pull people out of those kind of companies.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So once again, give all that information, how folks can reach you, website, email, phone, whatever you want to give up.
So Executive Search Partners is www.execsearchpartners.com. And if you go to our website, you can find everything you need to on there, including all of the partners of Executive Search Partners, how to reach each of them with our email addresses.